Today, everyone, we will discuss this chapter 7, Women Development and the World. But before that, let me give you some questions that after this discussion you will know the answer. First, the dominant system for growth and development is said to be patriarchal in nature. Why? Second, here are women displaced from dialogues about development. Cite some example discussed in the text. Differentiate the perceived gender roles of women from men. How can these roles influence the existing models of development? How can women advocates realize the inclusion of pro-women perspective in the present economic system? So we have here the learning objectives. At the end of this chapter, the student should be able to identify the ways women are excluded from the discourse of development and explain how women can and should be involved in the definition and realization of development. So growth and development from a biological perspective, the terms growth and development cannot be used interchangeably. Growth refers to the increase in mass and size of a body or organs. It typically occurs through the multiplication of cells and an increase in intracellular substance, while development refers to the sociological and function maturation of the organism. It also refers to the increase in capacity and skill to effectively function. So issues of growth and development deeply affect how an individual structures his or her life. Thus, everyone needs to understand key development issues the world is facing today, including global poverty and ecological crisis. So here is the definition and example of global poverty and ecological crisis. Measurement of development is based on a simple scheme that determines the thinking of most people who control the world's economy. Development is assessed in terms of the gross national product or GNP and the gross domestic product or GDP, which means that growth is measured according to how much a country is able to produce, consume, and earn. GNP estimates or includes earnings from foreign investment, while GDP estimates the wealth produced from local investment and activities. GNP and GDP measures economic activity based on how much people in a country are producing in terms of income, generating products and services. The higher GDP and GNP, the higher or the greater the economic activity. This simple concept yields a very straightforward explanation of economic growth and defines a healthy economy. The Earth is also losing thousands of species of flora and fauna annually. Forests are disappearing rapidly every year. The decline and eventual end of the world petroleum supply is also imminent. Scientists estimate that we have reached or soon reach the peak oil. So peak oil refers to a state in which all the easily accessible oil has been consumed and that the only available petroleum supply come from sources that are very difficult to access. So we have here the first desire for constant growth drains our natural resources. The more products or services are consumed, the more people accept this notion as a fact. It is something that must be avoided. Global warming, defined as a long-term heating of Earth's surface observed since the pre-industrial period due to human activities, primarily fossil fuel burning, which increases heat, trapping greenhouse gas levels in Earth's atmosphere. So, the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change, a study group of the most influential scientists who study the world's climate, that global warming is caused by carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. Next is women and the dominant economic system. So this pursuit development is destructive to the world, threatening human existence and well-being. It is unsustainable, yet people insist on pursuing growth because it is assumed to be necessary for sustaining economies and maintaining collective existence. The road toward development, however, is causing vast ecological destruction and is not benefiting the majority of the world's people. So, global warming, it directly affects workers in the agricultural sector who are mostly women. People in household responsible for providing water for their families are also women. So, the dominant system toward development need to be re-examined because of its potential for harm. However, no opportunities for examination are available at present. So, and development. So, what is gender and development? So, according to Wikipedia, gender and development is an interdisciplinary field of research and applied study that implements a feminist approach to understanding and addressing the disparate impact that economic development and globalization have on people based upon their location, gender, class, background, and other socio-political identities. So, the gender and development or GAD approach focuses on the socially constructed differences between men and women, the need to challenge existing gender roles and relations and creation, and the effect of class differences on development. So, for example, you're an employee and you're part of a big company. That company focused on increasing production and sale, to source the cheapest supply, to ensure market visibility, and to constantly keep an eye for the next big thing to sell. Then you have this kind of problem to your company, which is they cannot provide even a healthcare. In short, you don't have benefits. So those entrepreneurship may entail employing poor women who will have to work for long hours of work in unfavorable conditions in order to cut expenses and increase profit. So women are said to value dialogue and accommodation because of the recognition of the pluralism in society, and they tend to see personhood as relational rather than autonomous or individualistic. So here are the meanings of the relational, autonomous, and the individualistic. So the economic system has taken the form of war, colonization, land grabbing, strip mining, deforestation, and intensive farming.
Women in relation to development. What is mean by women development? WID, women in development concept is a base on a recognition of the importance of the rules and status of women in developed process. It means to give special attention to the women's while extending development assistance. For the effective and efficient implementation of assistance, it is essential to ensure that women should have the opportunities to participate positively as important players in development. The origin of women development. Women in development, WAD, is a theoretical and practical approach to development. It was introduced into gender studies scholarship in the second half of the 1970s following the origins, which it can be tracked to the first World Conference of Women in City of Mexico in 1975 organized by UN. What role do women play in development? Women are the primary caretakers of children and elders in every country of the world. International studies demonstrate that when the economy and political organization of a society change, women take the lead in helping the family adjust to the new realities and challenges. They are likely to be the prime initiator of outside assistance and play an important role in facilitating or hindering change in the family life. Why is women empowerment important development? Empowering women is essential to the health and social development of families, communities, and countries. When women are living safe, fulfilled, and proactive lives, they can reach their full potential and contributing their skills to the workplace and raise happier and healthier children. Why is women participation in sustainable development important? The participation of women employment in the workplace as human capital for sustainable development is very important for acquiring the environmental and production perception and increase their income, creating financial resources for saving and investment and getting more respect in society. Pro-women perspective on development. What is pro-women perspective? It means being committed to changing women obsession, sexism, and bernally gender injustice. Being feminist means being aware of women's experience and to bring them to the center of analysis, not to displace men but to broaden the perspective. What rights did women have in Western? Women of the West were the first in the United States to enjoy full voting rights. As new terrorists and state organized may consider the most granted women in the right to vote. Decades before passage of the 90th Amendment, Western women vote and serve in a public office. What is the role of women in Western society? Women are now elected to lead nations, have shown they are capable of being anything from astronaut to sports stars. Women in westernized society enjoy most of the same rights as men, including things like the right to vote, drive, ability to own land, access to education, and protection against violence. How was life for women different in the West? Of course, life was more difficult for women in the West than men. Women options for career path and life options were restricted. Generally, women were not free to participate as equal members of the society in the West and were continued to the preselected path of raising a family due to social norms and pressures. What is the femininity in Western culture? In Western culture, the ideal of feminine appearance has traditionally included long, flowing hair, clear skin, a narrow waist, and a little or no body hair or facial hair. In other culture, however, some expectations are difficult. For example, in many parts of the world, underarm hair is not considered feminine.
Agriculture and the values of development. Examine the development of agriculture to see how patriarchal values define what a big business is. This corporation produces a variety of food from freshly packed canned and meat goods to fast foods and snacks. These companies the world with meat and cereals that are mass produced. Big companies plant in large farms where their crops will be grown by the ton. For instance, if they need corn, they will grow all the corn using massive machinery that pumps large amount of chemicals. This breed of corn can only grow with specific fertilizer and designed for it. Why is this advantageous for big companies? First, they get a supply of corn in the size of shape that they can process the cereal in large volumes efficiently. Second, producing this way provides a cheap supply of corn because it can farm in mass. Third, this practice allows big companies to earn more because they are main buyers of this type of corn and thus they can dictate the buying price to the farmers. Finally, this system of factory farming allows other multinational corporations to earn more money by producing and selling the inputs that are required by the seeds. What is the problem with this form of production? One major problem is that pollutes water system and destroys the soil. When the fertilizer seeps into the waterways, it kills the life or encourages the growth of alien organisms, thus negatively affecting the native aquatic life. Small farmers do not actually earn enough from this system because they have to keep buying expensive seeds, fertilizers, and pesticides from multinational corporations. Farmers hardly break even because in many instances they have to borrow money for these inputs from traders who charge high interest rates. Lastly, This system promotes monoculture, which means that many species of plant life will eventually get wiped out because they are no longer cultivated by farmers or their habitats are being destroyed to plant the commercial corn for cereals. How women feed the world. Women are known keepers of biodiversity throughout the world. In small farms in Africa and many parts of Asia, women cultivate small backyard farms, thus preserving hundreds of species. Around 18 to 120 species are farmed in small gardens that are separate from cash crop hectarage. As much as 230 plant species in Thai home gardens and some 150 plant species in Indian backyard farms are used for food, fodder, or medicines. Mexican peasants use nearly 435 flora and fauna species for various purposes. The preservation of plant species in these countries is directly tied to how the local utilize their understanding of which species are suited to a given environment without resorting to planting methods that impose the use of artificial chemicals and processes. Thus, small agricultural farms are hundreds of times more productive than industrial farms based on conventional farming. Women plant more nutritious food than those produced by multinational corporations. Food produced through women's ways of knowing that is rooted in traditional methods is healthier because the food is not processed, hence offering a variety of natural sources of vitamins and minerals. Despite the important contribution of women in food production, they are not supported as producers and feeders of the world. They neither have access to land nor are given rights for land use. Few programs are available to support their work in cultivation because government and private investments are focused on commercial farming in the belief that the latter can feed the world better and create greater wealth.